If someone didn't know what tucking was, I would tell them to Google it or watch this video.
Tucking is a practice in the trans community that's relatively common. You tuck your genitals either behind or away.
Minimalize the appearance of anything that bulges out or to simply smooth it.
It's one of those things where everybody's doing it, but nobody's talking about it.
It's talked about a lot online, but in like a support group or what have you, it's hardly ever mentioned.
It's a fact of life if you're trans, especially if you don't intend on getting surgery.
When I tuck, it allows my entire body to represent who I really am, which is that of a woman.
I grew up, not fitting in, always feeling like I was not one of the boys. Being told at 6 or 7 years old that you're not a girl was very devastating for me, because that's when I started to not like my genitals. All I knew was that I was a female and you couldn't tell me anything else about it.
I can remember I used to be in love with the Spice Girls, and so I used to pick the sluttiest outfits, and I realized that my genitalia was not appropriate for the outfits that I wanted to wear, so I had to hide it. So,
Who's your Spice Girl of choice?
Posh Spice, Victoria Beckham.
I don't tuck anymore. I'm post-transition, but I think it's really important to talk about and find sort of diverse voices in the trans community to talk about what it means to tuck versus not have to tuck anymore.
As someone who navigates the world as a 6 foot tall, 200-pound black woman, I tucked for safety.
I've had guys follow me in the grocery store asking me how big am I. I've had guys saying, I know what you are. So tucking is definitely a part of trying to pass.
It helps lower your chances of facing harassment and violence from society.
I know I've had a lot of people look at my face and look at my crotch instantly. It's one of those things that, besides the Adam's apple, is kind of a dead giveaway.
Trans women, gender non-conforming people tuck for all sorts of different reasons, and people shouldn't make assumptions about the reasons for that.
For me, I feel like I'm a woman regardless of whether I'm tucked or not.
What's between my legs does not define my womanhood.
I personally would have never tucked if not for the fact that I felt deeply unsafe.
For any of the baby trans, any of the up-and-coming trans women, there's a lot more information out there for you now with the World Wide Web. Yay for that.
Become friends with other trans people or drag queens. Someone who's been doing it for a while.
It doesn't matter if you tuck sometimes or all the time, as long as you do it and stay safe, you can be exactly who you want to be. But there are certain tips and tricks.
My gaff game is always on point.
You're gonna take your scissors, you're gonna snip, 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 a little piece at the bottom. You're gonna take your shoestring, you'll slide it on through, and you have this, voila. And this is what we call a gaff. You just step on into it like a panty, and you pull it on up.
If I'm doing things like going to the pool, wearing a swimsuit, then usually I use the taping method. I cut it in half, and I kind of form a little bit of an X and tuck the bits.
If you're going to tuck your lady parts, please be shaved or waxed. If you're tucking with tape, that is, duct tape.
I feel like the world is not ready yet to accept trans bodies, so it is really dangerous to not tuck, but at the same time, I don't want people to be ashamed of their bodies.
Being a trans woman in the world is very, very difficult, possibly like one of the most difficult things to be in the world, and anything that would make you feel safer and more comfortable is something that you shouldn't be ashamed of.